Ragnarok dropped about, what, 5 days ago for ARK Survival Ascended. And just like with everybody else, I made a return here to ARK for what seems to be like a several-month hiatus. I was live when the servers officially went up. I've been playing every single day since. And what's my experience been like so far? Absolutely terrible. Let's talk about it. So with Ragnarok's official launch here, we loaded up the game and we decided that we were going to find an official server. It was me and about 3 to 5 other people here from my community that did actually play on community servers with me in the past. We decided to load it up. We ended up landing on a PvE, I believe it was 6049, I think was the actual server that we had. And anyways, we loaded in and it took us roughly 45 minutes and some of us even longer than an hour to even gain entry into the server. I digress. We finally all got loaded into the game as the night continued on and players were able to at least group up together and try to accomplish something, right? Well, obviously the first task for every survivor, just like it was for me, was to find a base location, right? You wake up on the beach, obviously you're naked and afraid, you got nothing. It's a brand new, reworked, remastered map. I still have yet to uncover the entire damn thing, but I'm excited to do so. So anyways, we get up, we start running around, we start doing our normal shenanigans. We immediately are greeted with a bazillion pillars, dude. Now, I know, you're watching this as a ARK fan, an ARK fanboy, a person who's played forever. I should known better. But, in my defense here, it's a brand new game. I haven't played the official network for ASA from ASE. Anyways, no, players have not changed. Everywhere was littered with pillars. You can see here on my map, we literally got in a boat and we rode all the way up to Blue Obelisk and even around from Blue Obelisk. There wasn't a single piece of land, dude, that did not have pillars on it. I'm talking about everywhere, in the ocean, on top of waterfalls, under waterfalls, you know, miles away from people's bases, you name it. They were claiming every single piece of land for whatever God knows reason in the game, that it made it extremely difficult to just simply survive. Because if you don't know, you can't even place a campfire next to enemies' pillars. So you literally can't even feed yourself from a campfire unless you can place one down, and there's pillars everywhere, so you couldn't. So this basically meant we were going to die over and over and over again, or hopefully survive on berries until you reach the point to unlock a raft. And then we were able to grind up some resources in order for us to get a raft, so then we can at least get some sort of base establishment. Once we did, we sailed this bad boy as long as we could throughout the night. I believe it was like a 4.5-hour live stream, and we found nothing. We found absolutely zero piece of land that we could claim and take for ourselves that was enough room to build a decent sized base in that, you know, would last us, you know, months on end. With that being said, we finally threw in the towel at that, that night, and we decided to go to bed. We'll recoup in the morning. The next night, we'll go live again or stream again, and we'll rinse and repeat the process. Well, lo and behold, the same thing happened. We finally got loaded in. We started to hunt down an area. One of our players was able to secure a little area, working out a deal with some of the people who had already pillared up the entire damn island. We finally got a little chunk of land, and guess what? Again, we were constantly met with more issues because of all these pillars everywhere and all of these different things going on and all these land claiming, techniques or strategies. Spawns were jacked up, right? There was literally nothing spawning in the ocean, or at least for miles off the shore, that we could not see, so we couldn't farm anything there. There was literally hundreds and hundreds of like bison areas and, dinos that weren't even simple because of all of the land claiming areas. We could not expand our base because we were circled around with, pillars everywhere around us. You name it, it just created a very, very unfun experience. And to top it all off, the event ended up coming to an end by Monday, and we were back to one-time rates, which are absolutely horrendous. For a normal person who is an adult, who has responsibilities, has to work a full-time job, one-time taming is insanity, and is never going to be something that I will be able to dip my toes in, because I would get absolutely nowhere in the game. And now that Survivors brings us to me throwing in the towel. I decided after that second night that I was done. I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to fight the official BS of, confining me to this little area here, asking people to, remove their pillars and, going through the entire thing of, I can't build where I want to build and I'm stuck on this damn raft for like, 8 hours or, whatnot. It was just ridiculous. So I got off of that. I decided, you know what? I guess I'm just going to have to rent a private server if I want to play with my friends on a server that's going to be up all the time so they can play when they want to, not tethered to me. Well, that proposed another set of issues. And starting us off with the first one, that is Nitrado allows at a minimum you to buy and rent a 20-slot server, dude. This is an absolute joke. Technically, no other place has the ability to do so besides Nitrado. They're exclusive, so you have to use them. But just to put the icing on the cake, they decide, you know what? If a person who has 5 friends really wants to rent a server, we shouldn't give them the option to have a cheaper price for only 5 character slots or player slots. Instead, let's put it at a minimum of 20 and let's charge a price of XX for the just bare bones minimum or standard, and we won't go any lower than that. Even if you go to build your own, package, you can't go lower than 20. This is just terrible for a new player experience. And I honestly personally think that a lot of these things can be fixed very easy. Now, I'm not a developer. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. Maybe they're not easy, but I personally think that they would be. And here's my first idea. When it comes to the massive pillaring going on these official servers, I think one easy fix to do this would be to introduce a land claiming system very similar to PAX Day or Once Human or hell, even Dune Awakening. I believe having a system where you have an item that you level up to unlock, you could then place it down, and then it would give you the same amount of distance by default, north, south, east, and west, vertical and down below. Make it a cube, make it a circle, whatever you want. I think that would be a very good way to confine people to a building area, basically not allowing them to build outside of that area. Now, again, this is a fresh idea. There's maybe some things and ways that you could come up with, creative ways to allow players to expand that, maybe allow them to make a secondary small little area or zone, maybe even allow them to make temporary zones for building things, throughout the world to access different drops or, whatever, you name it. I could definitely see that being worked in there somewhere. Again, I'm just spitballing here, but I think that would be a very easy way to massively, on a massive scale, clean up all these official servers from that happening. And secondly, here, when it relates to the campfire, as I mentioned at the beginning here in my story, I personally think they should just turn off the, check enemy player base, close by or structure close by option for the campfire. I believe if you were brand new to a server and you would jump in, you should not have to worry about placing a campfire down, especially to go through the basic tutorial, if you will, or journey, in order for you to cook up some meat, in order for you to properly survive, I should say, because you can't eat berries for, however long. But I personally think that shouldn't matter. And I also don't think that enemy campfire close by shouldn't prevent you from being able to build or extend your base or do whatever you are doing, if that is the case. I don't know. That's just my personal preference. That's my first thought process here. Maybe there's something that I'm missing. Let me know down below in the comments on this idea, but I think it's very simple and easy for them to implement something like this that would drastically make the experience better for everyone. And then that leads me into the second thing here. When it comes to the private servers and renting it from Nitrado, clearly, man, drop the damn server, minimum cap here. Allow people to just pick and choose. If a person only wants to get, maybe make it a minimum of 2, or maybe make it a minimum of 3, right? I could see something like that, because then you have 2 people or you have 3 people playing. I think rarely you would rent a private server for a single person, right? Obviously, you'd play single player. But I think that makes more sense. Having it at 20 is just greedy, bro. It's just super greedy, and I absolutely hate that. And with that being said, guys, as always, if you enjoyed the content, be sure to subscribe here on the channel for everything Ark Survival Ascended and survival games related. Also, don't forget that I do have a Discord community. If you want to stay up to date with that or tune in to see what I'm doing on the regular basis, you can utilize the link down below in the description. With that being said, guys, as always, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you all on the next one.